sure that inmates, are fully incorporated into the electoral process. I think this is commendable. This has been an activity that the organization has pushed for, and I know personally from my contact with Mr. Isuzudo that his passion and his commitment, to this, and I can see it also in the faces and activities of all the other members of the organization, and I think this is highly commendable. The Commission, as he has pointed out severally in his speech, is fully committed, to ensuring, that prisoners, inmates, are given the rights, to vote, in the democratic system. I think this is what is happening across the world, and I don't think we should be different, as far as deepening our democracy is concerned. As we move into the validation, I think it is important to raise a number of issues that may guide our conversation. I think it is important, if you look at the proposed framework that is put before us now for validation, there's a need, to distinguish between a framework, a broad framework for the implementation of an activity, and specific regulations or operational issues that an organization that is concerned with the implementation needs to take care of. I'm saying this because I have lawyers across here, from the Department of Justice, from the Ministry of Justice, and from the Commission, and from other, I don't know, there must be a lot of lawyers in this place, so I'm doffing my hat, but I think that there's a need for us to very seriously distinguish, because distinguish between framework, a regulatory framework, and specific operational matters, which that regulation is asking particular organizations to implement. This is important because this document, as it is now, is going to be a suggestion for an electoral legal framework for the National Assembly to pass. That framework should not contain issues that have to do with the specificities of voting within prisons, within correctional centers. These specificities are the responsibility of the Independent National Electoral Commission in conjunction with the leadership of correctional services. I don't know whether you get the distinction I'm trying to make. I think it's very important. And when you look at the document, therefore, I think we need to make suggestions of which classes of issues are operational matters that need to be dealt with by organizations concerned with operationalizing prisoners' voting. Which issues are broad legal matters that need to be approved by the National Assembly before we begin to talk about operational matters. So I think this is important in my opinion. And I think the first major operational issue, the first major framework issue, regulatory framework issue that we need to focus on is Section 42 and Section 56 of the Electoral Act 2022, which mandates that voting, that all voters must vote in the places where they are registered. I think this is the first serious regulatory framework issue that we need to deal with. And this cannot be dealt by anyone except the National Assembly. There are a number of other issues, regulatory framework, regulatory issues that need to be addressed. There is, second, if I may say, the issue of eligibility. You know, there we have several classes of inmates. You know, we have inmates, you know, awaiting trial. We have inmates that have several that have already been incarcerated and have terms of prison to serve. We have people on death row. You know, so it's only the National Assembly that can determine which of these can vote. I don't know whether we are. Yes. Yeah. I think also we need the framework, the legal framework, to determine the type of election that prisoners can, that inmates or prisoners can vote. It will be in terms of the management of results and the management of the election. It will be extremely difficult for prisoners that are coming from all over the country that are incarcerated in Lagos or in Enugu or in Maiduguri to vote for National Assembly and State House of Assembly elections. It will be a nightmare managing, you know, results, you know, for constituencies where prisoners are incarcerated in places where they are this far away from their locations. So this is something that the legal framework needs to address. I think also the legal framework needs to generally discuss issues of political party activities. How can political parties conduct these activities? What kinds of legislation do we need to ensure that political parties conduct their activities within correctional centers? I think this is something that needs to be done. I must remember, you know, when we talk about political party activities in general, it's not just the issue of campaigning. It's also the issue of party agents. For example, whether parties can appoint agents to come to correctional centers in order to monitor voting and collation and so on and so forth. So all this whole host of issues, I think. So I just want to advise that we, from the Commission, we have operation staff, we have legal staff in here, which is why they are here, so that we can all collectively, you know, sieve out what are broad regulatory matters and what are operational matters that some of which, you know, operational matters, some of which are already embedded in the Electoral Act and in some of our guidelines and regulations. And I think that it is important for us to focus on the broad regulatory matters, because right now, no step towards operationalization of inmate voting can take place without this broad legal and regulatory matter. I'm sorry I've taken so much time. This is what happens when you give old men microphones. They keep talking all over the place. So let me stop there. I thank you very much.
And what he has just said now is not something that will go into the breakdown of that. I think we just do that line. It will help us a lot. I just want to put a record that the Court General of Corrections is full of appreciation for the work CAPIO and other stakeholders are doing towards ensuring that inmates participate in general elections. Is something that the service is eagerly waiting to happen. Thank you so much.
for the presentation. I want to align myself with the last contribution by the colleague from Correctional Services. Thank you. I think, let me make a number of things very clear. First of all, I don't think anyone who is here today and all the other meetings that have been held is against inmate voting. I think it should be made very clear. I think the Commission and all of us here from the Commission, and I think all participants here are very much interested and very much committed to seeing that inmate voting not takes place. This is not a political issue. For me, this is a human rights issue. This is a core issue that will go a long way in deepening our democracy. And so we're not taking this lightly. And so let me assure the presenter, nobody here is saying that inmates shouldn't vote, because I've had allusions, in your presentation to that once or twice. Having said that, I think it's also important not to romanticize, and I think let's understand, I'm saying not to romanticize the issue, to gloss over the difficulties in implementation and say that this can be done. I don't think we'll be helping the project if we gloss over the difficulties that are anticipated, because that will be more damaging in its outcome. Because people will say, "Hello, forget about this, it can't be done, leave them, is it not prisoners?" So I don't want us to get that way. Let's think hard to see how we can deal with the complications, so that once we roll out, people will say, okay, yes, there's something here that can be supported, let's support it. So, and the way I think we are going, it looks to me as if we're glossing over some of the complications, and I think we shouldn't do that, because that might be more counterproductive than assisting the project. If you look at the issues, I'll just raise one or two, and I'm sure my colleagues from operations and from legal will raise a number of matters. Yes, the Electoral Act has given, and the Constitution has given, a broad, framework for all Nigerians, to vote. But within also the same laws, there are provisions that seem to have limited, the powers of the Commission to do a number of things, and even the power of Nigerians to do a number of things. I pointed out a number. The issue of voting where you are registered is a key issue, and Section 42, subsection 1, and Section 56 of the Electoral Act are clear. Now, you said in delimitation, you are assigning RECs the responsibility to collect information. RECs have no power absolutely under the Electoral Act to do that. It is the Commission's responsibility to do that, and it will do that during the CVR exercise. So there cannot be a separate CVR for inmates in correctional centers. Once a CVR is rolled out, it has to be a CVR for everybody, whether in or out of incarceration. So I think we need to, all these are issues that we need to, You're talking about a special result sheets. It is not feasible, because once you begin to make specialized things for inmates, you begin to mark them out as convicts or ex-convicts. So the result sheets have to be, because you have to integrate the result within the overall results framework of the commission. So when I made mention about dates of election or about type of election, I wasn't just concerned with the question of the management of votes or of results. I was also concerned with the calculation of what it takes to win a constituency. There are specific regulations on how a senator or how a member of the House of Representatives or how a member of the State House of Assembly can win. So the difficulty is that if a prisoner, if an inmate whose state of origin is Bauchi, is incarcerated in Enugu, how can we factor in his or her vote to the constituent to a state constituency in Bauchi, for example? It is clearer. A presidential election is clearer, you know, for the entire population of inmates, where we can even consider, for example, custodial centers as a special constituency. For example, for the purposes of a presidential election, that can be done. But you cannot do that for National Assembly or for state houses of assembly because of the various dimensions. People are incarcerated virtually everywhere across the country. Their origins, their villages, their towns, their states are all over the place. So that was the issue I was trying to raise. But having said that, I think it's important, you know, to go through. For me, I've gone because I have had the advantage of looking at this much earlier, you know, probably than quite a number of you. I have seen only a few broad framework issues. It is our responsibility to focus on these broad framework issues because these are the ones that will enable the implementing authorities to do operational matters. That's my yeah. So if we can concentrate on these broad operational issues, I wish that I wish that you had shared also the memo you sent to the National Assembly so that we can see some of the details, you know, that you have asked the National Assembly to do. You know, that will help us bring in some of the framework issues also, and some of the legal issues that are concerned with this. So I think it is important, you know, to make haste slowly in this matter. Otherwise, if we move, you know, without looking at some of the complications, it may be thrown out, and that will set us back, you know, by several years. A lot of effort has gone into this by all organizations. It is important for us to go the extra mile to deal with the challenges, so that once we roll out, you know, we are not in doubt about what needs to be done. So I would want to stop here, but I'm sure there are legal luminaries here who can intervene in this matter. Thank you.
What Annette is saying, if we undermine what Annette is saying, then we don't want to be progressive on this idea. So,
because when you use may, it is optional for the correctional service to provide that data or not. But when you use shall, then it becomes mandatory for the correctional service to provide that. So since we're going page by page, this is all my contribution on page 7.
There's a key learning from this conversation for INEC to pay attention to. I'm just thinking in my head, the need for me to always move and ask for a new PVC when I move. because life is constantly evolving. People are moving every day. Something might happen and you just have to move. So, and sometimes you move at very short notice. Is there a possibility for INEC to also look at a situation where we can have a voters card that anywhere I go, just like an ATM card, any ATM machine that I find, I can withdraw money from as long as it's mine and it's customized to me. So I think this is a form of key learning or a gap that we have seen that INEC should also look into, because people have been missing out from voting because of constant movement. So is there something that we can do to address that? Then also, concerning this particular meeting, I think there is need for INEC to have conversations when probably when an officer had attended a previous meeting on an issue, the new people are supposed to attend. I think the old people should brief them and know where we are with things, because it looks like people had conversation and agreed on something, then the new set of people are disagreeing on the same thing from the same agency, and I think it's a problem. It looks like a problem in-house, and I don't want to believe that there's a conversation not going on in-house with INEC. So I think this is more something INEC should also look at. Thank you very much.
Something came to my mind, and it actually has to do with persons with disabilities. And it was actually when they were talking about classifications and making provision of data of inmates. And we know, graciously, we actually have as INEC have developed a framework that promote the access to election by persons with disabilities. But I want to also say that we have inmates who are persons with disabilities. And if I'm wrong, the people from correctional center or somebody can even acquire disability on the process of being in custodial centers. So I want to say that it's also very important that this document capture where there will be provision for persons with disabilities who are in the custodial centers to also vote. And we know that there's assistive devices that actually make it possible for them to vote. So when you're providing those statistics and you capture persons with disabilities who are in the correctional centers, it will also help INEC to make deployments that will enable those people who are in those centers to actually vote. So that's what I want us to also include in this document, so that those persons with disabilities who are in the correctional centers will not be disenfranchised at the end of the day. So that's what I want to bring up. Thank you.
So therefore, at the end of the day, it's going to be the Commission's document. And I want to apologize also for the inconsistency of the Commission for not being able to actually bring those who have been working with you from day one. And but however, again, I am happy that I've been drafted into this with the barrister, and we're able to see things for ourselves and then, bring out what is in our minds for the benefit of the nation. Because INEC is there for the nation, you are there for the nation. What we are doing is to move our country forward. And so therefore, based on that, I think there is nothing wrong in validating the draft copy, subject to the committee's, further inputs, and then the final draft will now be submitted to the Commission. So with this, I think I have no problem endorsing this draft report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are very grateful. I want to thank all of us gathered here. It is indeed a pleasure to have you here in attendance. Those from National Assembly here represented, INEC fully represented. It is really good to see you in your numbers. I'm very happy. Thank you so much for coming. And my friends, I call them my friends, Nigerian Correctional Service, thank you so much for making it today. Other ministries, NGOs, National Orientation Agency, Ministry of Justice, National Human Rights Commission, CSOs and NGOs represented here, thank you so much, and we do hope that in no distant time we'll send out the email constituting the committee with the permission of INEC. So we'll also go through them again to see that this committee is constituted in no distant time. So it's a good thing to see that the draft has been accepted by INEC. Thank you very much. After the